On November 26, 1994, there was a power outage reported at the Darrington unit in Texas. This was a prison that housed some of the most insane criminals in the state. They had just taken away one of the inmates' favorite television programs, and in the darkness that followed, all hell broke loose. Inmates started running around the prison screaming and shouting. Some were trying to get out of their cells, while others were simply running aimlessly around the prison yard. Guards quickly tried to restore order, but they were met with resistance by the inmates. This continued for what seemed like an eternity, until finally things began to calm down again. But this was no ordinary prison break. 3 inmates, Dennis Wayne Hope, Harry Decker, and Jason Montgomery, had used the blackout as cover to escape. The trio had spent months planning their escape, and they knew that the power outage would be the perfect opportunity to make their move. Now that they were free, they wasted no time in making their way to safety. Hope, who was serving a life sentence for a crime he didn't commit, cut through 3 fences before disappearing into the night. Decker and Montgomery weren't so lucky. They were both caught and returned to prison almost immediately. But Hope was able to stay one step ahead of the authorities for much longer than anyone expected. So how did these 3 men manage to escape? And what happened to them after they got away? Let's find out in today's episode. Dennis Wayne Hope, Harry L. Decker Jr., and Jason DeWayne Montgomery were inmates at the Darrington unit in Texas. They were serving time for various crimes, including murder, robbery, and burglary. But all that would soon be forgotten as they planned and executed one of the most daring prison escapes in history. For months, the men had been planning their escape, studying the layout of the prison and the surrounding area. They knew that the power lines were old and often went out, so they decided to wait until there was a blackout. When the power went out, they knew that it was their chance. They cut through several fences using makeshift weapons and then made their way to a car that had been stolen earlier that day. They jumped in and sped away from the prison, leaving the guards and inmates in the dust. As they drove away, they knew that they had only seconds before the police were alerted and a manhunt began. Decker and Montgomery were caught soon after, but Hope was able to evade capture for quite some time. He had a detailed map of the area that showed him exactly where to go to avoid the police. He also had a good understanding of the terrain, which helped him stay hidden. After a few days on the run, Hope was finally caught and returned to prison, but not before leaving a lasting impact on everyone involved in his capture. You might wonder why he wanted to escape in the first place. Well, it's simple. Hope insisted that he was innocent and had been wrongly convicted. He had already served many years in prison and felt that he had nothing left to lose. He took the risk of attempting to escape because he believed that if he could just get away, he could prove his innocence. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful and ended up spending even more time behind bars as a result of his failed escape attempt. Despite being unsuccessful, his escape attempt is still considered one of the most daring prison breaks in history. It is a testament to his determination and resourcefulness that he was able to stay on the run for as long as he did. At the beginning of this episode, we mentioned that Hope had a map that helped him evade the police. This map is the key to understanding how Hope managed to stay free for so long. It was a detailed map of the area around the prison that showed him where to go to avoid the police. It also showed him where he could find food and supplies, so that he would unstarve or become dehydrated. In addition to the map, Hope also had a knowledge of the area that helped him stay hidden. He knew where the police were most likely to look for him and where they would unthink to look. He also knew where he could find places to hide that were off the beaten path and out of sight. One of the reasons that Hope was able to stay hidden for so long was that he was familiar with the area. He had been wrongfully convicted for a crime and sentenced to life in prison. This meant that he had nothing to lose and was willing to take risks that other people would untake. He was desperate to prove his innocence and was willing to do whatever it took to stay free. When the power went out at the prison, Hope knew that it was his chance. He had been planning his escape for months and was ready to make his move. He cut through the fences using makeshift weapons and then made his way to a stolen car. He knew exactly where to go and how to avoid the police, thanks to his map and his knowledge of the area. He was able to stay hidden for so long because he was familiar with the terrain and knew where to find food and supplies. He also had a good understanding of human behavior and knew how the police were likely to react. He used all of this knowledge to his advantage and was able to stay on the run for over a week. Ultimately, Hope was caught and returned to prison, but not before leaving a lasting impact on those who were involved in his capture. His escape attempt was a daring one that showed his determination and resourcefulness. Even though he was unsuccessful, his story is still remembered and talked about today. His case is also a reminder that sometimes the truth can be stranger than fiction. Hope insists that he is innocent and was wrongly convicted. His escape attempt was not only a daring adventure, but also a desperate attempt to prove his innocence. In conclusion, Dennis Wayne Hope's escape attempt was a remarkable feat that showed his intelligence and determination. Although he was eventually caught, his story remains an important part of American prison history. His daring escape attempt serves as a reminder that even the most hopeless situations can sometimes have a happy ending. We hope you enjoyed learning about this amazing man and his incredible story. If you did, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up for more great content. We appreciate your support and we look forward to bringing you more amazing stories in the future. Thanks for watching. Now let's take a look at some of the insane details of this prison break. These 3 men were not your average prisoners. They were all serving life sentences for their crimes. They had nothing to lose and were willing to do whatever it took to escape. Their escape was meticulously planned. They had studied the prison and the surrounding area for months, knowing exactly when to make their move. When the power went out, they knew that it was their chance and they took it. They cut through 3 fences using makeshift weapons, showing their determination and resourcefulness. Once they were free, they stole a car and sped away from the prison. They were able to stay one step ahead of the police for a while, thanks to Hope's knowledge of the area. This goes to show that sometimes the most dangerous criminals are the ones who seem the most harmless. Who would have thought that a quiet, unassuming prisoner could be the mastermind behind such a daring escape? The escape attempt was not without its risks. If they were caught, they would be returned to prison and likely face even harsher punishments. But they were willing to take the risk, and it paid off for Hope, at least for a while. He was able to stay free for over a week, which is a remarkable feat for someone who was considered extremely dangerous. Eventually, though, he was caught and returned to prison, but not before leaving a lasting impact on those who were involved in his capture. His escape attempt was a testament to his intelligence, determination, and knowledge of the area. Even though he was unsuccessful, his story remains an important part of American prison history. It's a reminder that sometimes the most difficult cases are also the most interesting ones. So what do you think? Was Dennis Wayne Hope a hero or a villain? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up for more great content. We appreciate your support and we look forward to bringing you more amazing stories in the future. Thanks for watching.